Well, Kwara State University has made strides in vehicle energy conversion, adapting 5 vehicles to run on electric and compressed natural gas (CNG) to address the rising cost of premium motor spirit (PMS). At a press briefing in Ilorin, Vice Chancellor Professor Sheikh Lukman Jimo has highlighted the university's initiative to reduce fuel dependency, urging financial institutions to offer loans for similar conversions to make them more accessible to Nigerians. He revealed that KWASU saved 840,000 naira in 7 weeks by using an electric bus for staff transport. Professor Jimo further noted that KWASU has signed an MOU with 2 Chinese firms, which he actually mentioned, and talking about this is to produce branded CNG kits, right? And KWASU also partnered with the Kwara State Ministry of Business, Innovation and Technology to convert 22 vehicles in Kwara Express's fleet to CNG, while 2 electric vehicles have already been presented to the state governor. Chief Technologist Mr. Abdulaziz Akande emphasized CNG's affordability and the environmental advantages of electric vehicles, noting that the university has saved 840,000 naira in fuel costs within 7 weeks. The conversion project, still in development, aims to become a revenue stream for the university and offers a potential pathway for wider renewable energy adoption across Nigeria. This initiative coming straight out of the Kwara State University, what do you think?
I think it's an innovation. It's something that should be applauded, and it's also something that people should copy. But first, we need to ask certain very salient and critical questions.
Okay.
But for them to have involved some Chinese firms, that means it has some level of human face and some form of integrity backing it. But where I have certain questions, I pray that the Nigerian factor doesn't come into it. I'm not being very pessimistic this time around, but if you look at it critically, it's a very wonderful innovation. Mm-hmm. If they have saved 840,000 in 7 weeks, that means in the next 1 year, you know how much they will save. And also, if other people come to the university to also leverage on it, it becomes an income stream for the university. And that's what we've always been talking about, where people try to diversify their source of income. And once you diversify, you become self-sustaining. It's a good thing for the Kwara State University, and I pray it works for them, because if it works, it will go a very long way. Then brings me to another question. The CNG, I know, or I believe they also have where it could be readily available. Since it's also a Chinese firm that is bringing the kits, that means there's some form of wonderful technology behind it, and it will definitely work for them. And once it works, other people will copy it.
I know you mentioned wonderful technology, but I know another word that would have come in there somehow would have been credibility. And the first time you mentioned, since it's a Chinese firm, it has some human face to it, and it means that we can trust. Why do we have this ideology when we talk about foreign industries or foreign firms?
Well, foreign firms, they have a lot of things going for them. There's our sustainability, there's high-level credibility, except they are infiltrated. But so long as they are not infiltrated, you allow them run it the way it ought to be run, they will never compromise. And once they don't compromise, then it becomes a reality.
They would never compromise? Are you saying they will never compromise because
I say once
it's a
they
foreign...
don't compromise.
Is it because it's a foreign firm?
Yes, because it's a foreign firm, their name is at stake. They wouldn't want to.
So local firms, our names are not at stake?
Not that their names are not at stake, but they are easily infiltrated. One, given the fact that profit maximization, in fact, profit has always been their major aim of going into business.
Is it different for foreign firms?
Of course, first their name is at stake. Then once their name is at stake, it talks about credibility. So they must do it according to international standard and global practices. That's one thing that goes for them. But you know the Nigerian factor, some of these are Nigerian, they like cutting corners. And that's where we always run into problem. But this point, they must definitely adhere to international global practices.
But we cannot rule away the fact that the corruption we see in Nigeria is in other countries also.
It is in other countries, but it's not as pronounced as it is.
Yes, but the way we
corruption.
take it completely out, as long as it's a foreign company that is involved, is what I'm trying to look at and find out why.
First, why I say being a foreign company, they have their standard practices.
We also have our standard practices here.
But we always cut corners. While these people, they will always tell you that these are the steps, these are how they must do it, and this is how it ought to be done. That's how they do it in their place, and it's been working for them. So that's why I talked about credibility and compromising. They have a high level of keeping to standard, following the global practices, but this side of the world, there's always this idea of cutting corners because we want to make more profits.
But you agree that there are credible firms here also?
We have some credible firms, but I don't know why the system has not really allowed them.
What do you mean?
Who do I know?
What do you mean? Not who.
Okay.
What do you mean by the system has not allowed them?
First and foremost, Nigeria, corruption has become part of way of life in Nigeria. I'm sorry to say, even in the citadel of holiness, which is supposed to be the church and the opium of the society, it has also crept into the church.
Because there are human beings there.
Of course. So it's already eating deep into the fabric of the nation.
This is a serious problem. Some Nigerians do not trust our own thing. As long as it's coming from Nigeria, they believe it will not work. You hear of a major road being constructed, and immediately you hear it's a local firm, you already, or a local contractor that's handling it, you already believe that that is, going to be so standard. And some people say, oh, they give it to carpenters.
No, it's not really being given to carpenters. First, the corruption, even from the supervising ministry. Okay. The first thing they do is that they look at the bill of quantity. They always tell you, by the time you reduce the quantity of XYZ, the difference that is supposed to be there, you're going to give it to us. That's always the problem. Ordinarily, if you look at the bill of quantity of every road, there are standard gauge or there are basic centimeters, but they will tell you, instead of doing 12 cm, do 6, do 9, and they will come measure it and tell you it's up to the 12. So that's where even the corruption starts.
So it's not just in one parastatal, it's not just in one aspect.
No, you talked about
different aspects,
and
yes.
I told you that from my experience or from little findings, it even starts from the supervising ministry.
But I'm more concerned when you say the system will not allow even the people who are credible to thrive. Because we need to change the narrative. And definitely, I know that there are people who are bent on changing the narrative. But saying they can't thrive, it's cause for concern.
Part of the problem we have is that some people who they think that if so person gets to this position, they will definitely give us problem. They are not even given the chance to rise. So they always look for those people who will definitely play games with them. Those people who will toe their line so that everything will fall.
And if you don't
get there.
You don't even get there in the first place. But how are the credible businesses that we have thriving at the moment? Because you said earlier that you also believe that we have credible firms.
Sure, we do have some credible firms, but then it is what it is. The system will not allow them thrive.
All right, we're talking about, but let's go back to the innovation now. It's just that when you mentioned that, caught my attention, like, why do we not trust our own thing? Why do we always talk down on our local firms, industries, and when it's something foreign, we say, oh, it's a foreign company, so because of that, it's credible.
No, I want to correct an impression.
Yes, please.
There are some firms coming from other parts of the world. Some also are portfolio companies, but if you find out they are credible companies that are on ground, they have verifiable offices and industries, their name is always at stake. So it's a two-way thing. Even in Nigeria, we have some companies that are already on ground, who are already doing business, they have a name, and we also have the portfolio companies.
Like portfolio farmers, like the farmers I've mentioned. But let's look at this innovation. This is coming from the university. How do we get to encourage our innovations. People have complained about that. But looking at what is going on with this now, would you say we're coming up with encouraging our innovations and research?
Of course, you know, I've always said that the university, apart from being a place of learning, it's also a place of research, innovation, and technology. So if the universities are going beyond just place of teaching, now going into research, innovation, and technology, that means we're heading towards the right direction. All they just need now is funding, because every of this is capital intensive. So by the time you fund them adequately, it will go a very long way for them, and it takes pressure off them. All they just need to do now is just to sit down, do the research, work with their partners, and the result will be there. Instead of looking for funds and also doing research, the attention will be divided.
When we talk about practicals and research in universities, eyebrows are usually raised. If someone gave an example of students in, maybe civil engineering in a particular, department, and then a project is going on in the university that regards or that concerns that department, and you don't see students in that department getting involved. You see them employing people from outside. And it begs the question, what have these students been learning? They have no idea about what is going on. And this is a way of actually exposing them to the realities and the practical aspects of their course.
You know, that area you're talking about now, it has a lot to do with timing. When I say it has to do with timing, most of these projects, they go on during the work period, which is also school period. So the curriculum itself has not been designed to suit that very innovation.
And you don't think that's a problem?
Except they go back, design the curriculum.
Because
then the university also adjusts their timing so that these students who are also in school should also leverage on what is happening as a first-hand experience.
That means you're describing it like something that is outside what they're doing.
Of course.
So how can practical be outside what people are going to school to do?
Practical, it's because of the curriculum one. Then I also told you the timing of, there's a lecture time conflicting with
That's what
the
I'm
time
saying.
of the project.
That's what I'm saying. That is lecture on its own. So when you say the lecture time, it looks like, oh, book time. Then this one is just leisure.
It's not about leisure. Why I say it's not about leisure? If you go on your own to gain extra...
No, not them going on their own. This is what I'm trying to explain to you now. The same way you place importance on the lecture time,
yes,
that's the same way this should also be seen as important. Because how do they go to school and you see someone who studied civil engineering, you see someone who studied practical courses, let's put it that way. Practical courses, and they have little knowledge about the practical aspect of it.
First, you say students of civil engineering, because we narrowed it down to civil engineering.
Yes, because someone gave an example of that. So just students with practical
of course,
courses.
It's left with the National University Commission to put it as a kind of law.
Do you think they should?
They should. They should. Because if you look at it technically, I have a civil engineering department. A civil project is going on in my university or in the university. Students of civil engineering in that same university, they are not part of it. That means it's an aberration, it's an abnormality.
All right, so practical should also be looked into, bringing it into our curriculum and getting the students involved. We've heard people who studied agriculture talk about practicals not being, them not really carrying out practicals. In fact, I've heard some of them say it was when they graduated from school and then they went for their youth service and they served in a farm. That was when they understood a lot of the things that they were writing on paper in school.
I don't understand. Why I say I don't understand. A university that has a faculty of agriculture, they should have demonstration farms.
That has a farm. Please add that.
They should have
because they do. Some of them you find them, you see it in the universities now. You see the farm there. But you start hearing things like, oh, they don't have the equipment that they should use. You start hearing things that some of the things that should be available are not there. And then the students maybe being more than what is provided, than what they have to use for practicals, and all of these challenges that they get to mention.
I think for me, after accreditation, there should also be some level of validation. You know, it's just like in the Christendom, being born again or once born again does not mean always born again. You can always backslide. They can fall by the way. So all they just need to do as a regulatory body of the university, even if they accredit some of these faculties, over time they come back, look at it. It could be a period of 5 years, 3 years. They come back, look at the department again, if actually what they have is still what is on ground, or they have fallen by the way.
All right. So you don't. That means you're stating that there probably are no provisions for checks.
Of course.
And follow-up and maintenance.
Yes. No, but first, if there's a check system where they come back to check if the faculty is still what it is, then there will be need for the faculty at every point in time to see how they maintain their equipment, how they also upgrade and become better than the way they were before.
When you say they coming to check these faculties and these places, who are you referring to?
The National University Commission, because they are the ones that accredit faculties. Okay. And for any university to have a full-fledged faculty, they first come for inspection, then give them that accreditation to show that that faculty is properly accredited and they can bring churn out graduates for that field of human endeavors. So after accreditation, there should still be checks where they come back periodically to check if the things which they saw at the beginning before they were accredited are still in place.
And to think there are actually people on ground to manage these facilities, it begs the question, what's going on with them?
If there's a proper check and balance system, the universities will always be on their toes, knowing very well that after a period of time, these people will come back. So all they need to do is to have a proper maintenance plan.